Hi everybody, Jen from Shawnee Botanicals. This was kind of a last minute thought to do a video on. I have to make, and I will video this also later, I have to make a big 6-pound batch of my lavender soap. Lavender's just a huge seller. I feel like I'm always running out of it. I use it on my daughter. That stuff just flies out of here. So, excuse her. So I just thought I would quickly do a mini overview of how I use some botanical colorants. Now, these are plant-based. I use, let's see if I can get here. I use Alkanet root powder to make purple, and that's what I'm going to use later on today in my lavender soap. And the reason I have to do this is because I grabbed my Alkanet infused olive oil and realized it was possibly too old when I looked at the little I put a label on the mason jars of the date that I made them when it involves oil, because you don't want to put rancid oil in your soap. You're gonna have problems. So check the date, was opened it, smell it, no, not gonna take the chance. So I have to make more of this for the soap I'm making later today. So Alkanet root powder makes a gorgeous purple. Everything from a very pale lavender, which I'll be using in my soap today, to a pretty deep dark purple. You just have to watch if your soap batter is pretty yellow, or if you have a yellow color, what am I trying to say? Fragrance oil. Anything that's going to make your soap batter really yellow. The Alkanet root powder will end up more of a muddy purple, almost like a brown. I don't have that issue when I make my lavender soap because the lavender essential oil is completely clear. But you may have to do some titanium dioxide first if you have a really yellow batter when you're using Alkanet to make purple, but it does do fabulous shades purple. But this one does have to, you do have to do an infusion. This doesn't work out well mixing right into the soap batter. It'll be very speckly, a little blotchy, and you're gonna get this red that it looks like instead of the purple that you want. So this needs an oil infusion, which I'm gonna just quickly show you how I do it in a second. Okay, Maida root powder. I don't use this one that much. It makes, focus camera. You can get a half decent orange with it, more of a peach. This one you can do either way. You can infuse it or add it right to the batter. I usually just add it right to the batter. It does speckle a little bit and have a little bit of anytime you're gonna add a plant-based colorant directly to your soap batter without doing an oil infusion, it is going to make little speckles that are a little bit on the scratchy side. Not in a bad way. When I have a soap that's like that, I just say that it has mild exfoliating properties. It's actually nice. It's a little bonus. So Maida root will do that, and will give you, you know, orange. I don't use it that often, but that's what that one is for. Safflower powder, and all of these I got from Soap Making Resource, but you can get them at a lot of different suppliers. So safflower powder I use a lot. It makes a yellow, and I've probably mentioned it in a couple of my videos where I have used it. It looks very orange, and when you first mix it into the soap batter, this one you can put directly into the soap batter. It does speckle a tiny bit, but it doesn't, depending on how much you use, it's not going to be really scratchy. I just put it right in the soap batter, always. I've never even infused this one. I guess maybe I'll try one day. But for how orange it looks, it makes yellow. Even if you use a lot, it's going to look very orange in the raw soap batter, but within even just a few hours, it will go yellow. Certainly after curing, it's going to be very yellow. The more you use, the brighter and more intense the yellow. And the last one that I have on hand that I use once in a while is indigo powder. This makes a gorgeous blue, as you can imagine. The thing you want to watch with indigo powder is it will bleed, and this is was traditionally used to dye clothing, you know, way back in the day. So you want to watch and go easy on this, because the bleeding from this can possibly stain a washcloth. So it makes a nice blue, but go easy on it. And again, this one can get added right into the batter, and this is one that doesn't really speckle or create that scratchiness. Okay, so that's just a quick overview of the 4 I use most. Today's mission is Alkanet root powder because I need it for my lavender soap later. So I'm going to pause and put the camera down and show you how I do the oil infusion. Hold on. Okay, so in this mason jar, I use mason jars for like everything. Love them. Cheap, easy to get. This is just olive oil. And just poured some of my fresh olive oil in here. And then I'm just going to add the Alkanet root powder. I don't really measure. I don't really measure with colorants. That was a heaping teaspoon. So you see how, can you see how brown this looks right now? In the bag, it looks really red. When you take the powder out of the bag, it looks almost brown, okay? It will not make that color in your soap. This infusion is going to make purple, I promise. So this is a little 3-ounce mason jar, and I put a heaping teaspoon, it's almost filled with olive oil, and I put a heaping teaspoon of the Alkanet root powder in. So I'm just gonna mix it until it's smooth. Well, sort of smooth. It's gonna be very speckled. It's not going to actually dissolve, but I just wanna make sure there's not big clumps. And then you're gonna have to infuse it. And there's a couple ways to do this. If you have lots of time, you can basically just let it sit for about 2 months. Give it a good shake once a week or so, and then you should be good to go. You can do a windowsill infusion and put it, you know, on a windowsill where it's going to get sunlight, and that should take 4 to 6 weeks. That's, you know, the old-fashioned way of doing infusions when regular low temperatures of heat weren't available. Today we have things like stoves and crock pots. A lot of people do their infusions in a crock pot. You'll set it on low for 2 hours. Water in the crock pot first, of course. So just a shallow amount of water, and then you would put your jar in there and let it sit. I'm gonna get a paper towel. Now this will, watch with this, because this is, it'll like stain a countertop or something like that. Okay, so very simple. I just mixed the Alkanet root powder in the olive oil. I have on my stove a pot with some water. And that ring in the bottom, this would be if you don't have a crock pot, or my crock pot broke. So just a pot with some water. That is the ring from this mason jar. You just put it on the bottom and it creates like a double boiler situation because you don't want this directly on the heat. So you're just going to put that in. Don't put too much water in because you don't want that to float and spill. So it's just sitting on the ring in a shallow amount of water, and I'm just going to put my stove on simmer, and I'm going to set a timer for 2 hours. After that, I will take the mason jar out, put the lid on the very securely, give it a good shake, and I'll be good to go for my soap later, and the rest will just get stored in the closet for future use, up to the shelf life of the olive oil used, basically. I try not to make more than like 6 months worth of the infusion at a time, just so you don't have bad oil going into your soap. Okay, so that's that. Hang on one second. I'm going to show you one more thing in this little video. So hold on. So this is something totally separate, but since I have it all sprawled all over my poor kitchen table here for the last couple of days, I just wanted to show you very quickly how I make fragrance blends. You don't want to be wasting a lot of oils, whether it's fragrance oils or essential oils. I mean, mixing them all together and sniffing it. Oh, I have to add a little bit more of this, a little bit more of that. And before you know it, if you don't like it, you've just wasted a whole bunch of expensive oil. So I use sandwich bags and Q-tips. And of course, a notepad and pen, that is very important. So what I will do is, say I've chosen, like for this one I've chosen 3 different fragrance oils that I wanted to try a blend together. So obviously write them down. Say I wanted, you know, 3 parts of one of them, 2 parts of another, and 1 part of another. Dip 3 ends of a Q-tip, well, both ends plus 1 more, into that oil, and that's your 3 parts. 2 ends would be your 2 parts, and then just 1 dip on one side would be your 1 part. Write down how many ends of a Q-tip dip you did. That's your parts. Seal up the bag. Let it sit for a good while, a good, you know, 15 minutes at the very least. The longer the better. Give the scents a chance to kind of meld together. Open up the bag, give it a little bop, and then sniff. Don't put your face right in the bag. Over the top of the bag is where you want to smell. And then you can determine, oh, it maybe needs a little bit more of this, a little bit less of that. You can add another Q-tip dip of one of your oils. Again, remember to write that down. And then when you finally figured out that you're happy with it, add up your total number of Q-tip dips. That will give you your total number of drops. And then you just do some math and division, dividing how many dips of each oil, and then you can convert into percentages to convert into ounces for your soap or other products. So I'll just show you, I was working on this for a couple of days now. I have 1, 2, 3, whoa, 4, I think 5 different blends that I'm working on, trying to gear up for fall. So just thought I'd quickly add that onto the end of my little plant-based colorant video. Okay, I'll be back later to show you a video of making my lavender essential oil soap. Thanks for watching. Bye.